AITA for leaving my girlfriend for her bestie after she called me her driver? I am 28, and I was with my girlfriend Madison, 26, for a little over 3 years. We met in 2021 at a fundraiser for kids with cancer. I was there to make a donation through my logistics company, and she was doing public relations for the event. First impression, a total bombshell. The kind to make every head turn in the room. Not just physically, though she clearly had that, but also in the way she commanded attention when she spoke. Confident, eloquent, and with this laugh that makes you feel like the funniest person in the world when you cause it. A little about me. I own a mid-sized logistics company. I started 8 years ago with a single truck, working 20 hours a day, sleeping in the cab to save money. Today, I have a fleet of 12 trucks and 15 employees. No college degree, but I built all of this from nothing. I make a comfortable 6 figures most years. Not enough to waste money, but enough to take nice vacations and never stress about bills. I work hard, enjoy life, and value loyalty over almost anything else. Madison was a marketing executive at a big downtown firm. She had a master's degree from a prestigious school and an impressive title. The whole package, always dressed like she just stepped out of a magazine, not a hair out of place. When we started dating, I thought I had hit the jackpot. A beautiful, ambitious woman who seemed to appreciate how hard I worked. The first 2 years were pretty great. I am a simple guy with simple needs. Good food, good company, and someone who appreciates the little things. I surprised her with weekend getaways to the beach. I remembered her favorite perfume, all that classic romance. My mom raised me right. Treat your woman like gold, and she will treat you like a king. That had always been my philosophy. Madison loved gifts. She really loved them. Designer bags, jewelry, fancy dinners at places where prices are not even on the menu, and I was happy to give her all of that. When she had a bad day at work, I would show up with her favorite takeout and a new pair of earrings. When she needed a new computer, I bought her the top-of-the-line laptop without hesitation. When her car broke down, I paid the $3,200 repair bill without a second thought. That is just how I am. I take care of my own. Sometimes, her friend Emily was there when I dropped things off. A quiet elementary school teacher, she always thanked me, even when Madison did not. She would offer Madison a drink, ask how her day went before disappearing into the room where Madison had left her waiting. She seemed nice without really standing out next to Madison's overwhelming energy. Looking back, there were signs I missed, like how early on she posted couple photos on social media. Then over time, it became nothing but solo shots of her taken on our vacations. Vacations I paid for. Or the way she introduced me to her college friends, but never to her work colleagues. Or when we dined with my buddies and their wives, and she spent half the time on her phone, visibly bored. There was this one time at a fancy steakhouse with my main client, a guy who accounts for about 40% of my revenue. A great, humble guy who built his manufacturing business in his garage. During dinner, he was telling a hunting story with his sons, and I noticed Madison texting under the table with this little smirk. Later, I saw a text on her phone from a friend. So, dinner with the country guys? And Madison had replied, "Kill me now." Connor's client just spent 20 minutes talking about deer meat. I confronted her in the car, and she got defensive. That was rude. Connor, and you were laughing like it was the funniest thing in the world. That guy pays for half the stuff in our apartment, I reminded her. She rolled her eyes. God, you are so sensitive. It was just a text to Rachel. Not like I said it to his face. I let it go. You have to pick your battles, right? But looking back, that is when I should have seen who she really was. The biggest red flag, however, in 3 years, she never took me to a single company event of hers. Not the Christmas party, not the summer picnic, not the charity gala. Always an excuse. It will just be boring work talk. It is for employees only. You will not know anyone. Invitations are limited this year. It is mostly networking, she would say. I believed her, because why would I not? She was my girlfriend. I trusted her. When you love someone, you give them the benefit of the doubt, even when your gut is screaming that something is wrong. 2 months ago, Madison was promoted to senior marketing director. Huge deal with a nice raise, about $30,000 more, plus stock options. She was over the moon, talking about it for weeks. Her company was hosting a fancy dinner at a high-end steakhouse to celebrate her and a few other promoted executives. Babe, can you believe it? All these years of hard work finally paid off. She laughed while trying on dresses in our bedroom. This opens so many doors for me. Vice President track for sure now. That is awesome, honey. I am proud of you, I said. And I really meant it. Despite our issues, I genuinely wanted her to succeed. When is the dinner? Should I rent a tux, or is my navy suit okay? She made this face. Not quite an eye roll, but almost. That micro-expression where true feelings flash across the face before being masked. Contempt. That is what it was. Oh, it is just for the executive team and their spouses. Company policy, you know? I nodded, but something felt off. Their spouses can come, but not me? Well, their spouses are, you know, they are all part of that circle. Lawyers, doctors, finance guys. She did not finish her sentence, but I understood. Not logistics owners. I own a logistics company. I corrected, feeling that familiar burn in my chest. I do not drive the trucks myself. I know, babe, and I am so proud of what you have built, she replied with that perfectly plastered public relations smile. It is just that these people are different. They are going to talk about their summer homes in the Hamptons, and you would be bored to tears. Trust me, I am saving you from a miserable evening. I let it go. Pick your battles, right? Over the next 2 weeks, she talked about nothing but this dinner. How it was the most important night of her career, how everything had to be perfect, how her boss was flying in from the coast just to be there. Then came the requests. First, she needed a new outfit, something classy but bold, a few $100s. Then, designer shoes, supposedly on sale, then hair and makeup. Everyone was getting their hair and makeup done by professionals. Finally, she asked me to chip in for the dinner costs, about $500, presented as a small contribution because the company was paying the majority, but the promoted folks were expected to pitch in. Every request came with the same justification. It is a way to show appreciation, she explained for the dinner contribution. Like I am recognizing the investment they are making in me. I wrote the checks without complaining. That is what partners do. They support each other. And honestly, I was genuinely happy for her. I remembered how I felt landing my first big contract, that validation. I wanted her to have her moment. The night before the dinner, she was on edge, trying on her outfit for the 10th time. An outfit that probably cost more than the repair on my first transmission. You look stunning, I told her. They are going to be blown away. She smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. Thanks, I just need everything to be perfect tomorrow. They are flying the CEO in, and if I make a good impression, it could open doors straight to the executive board. That night, I could not sleep. I got up around 1 in the morning to get some water and heard her on the phone in the bathroom, speaking in that low voice you use when you do not want to be heard. No, he is fine with it. He does not even know where it is. Trust me, it is better this way. The last thing I need is him talking about trucking routes while I am trying to impress the chief financial officer. I know. Then she laughed. Seriously, can you imagine? Here is my boyfriend, a real Smokey and the Bandit. That same laugh that had hooked me 3 years ago, but this time it was directed at me. I pretended to be asleep when she came back to bed. I lay there for hours, replaying every moment of our relationship, wondering how many times she had already laughed at me behind my back. By morning, I had stopped pretending. Not angry, just clear-headed. I was not going to argue, or beg, or give her another dollar. I was simply going to remind her exactly who I was without raising my voice once, and I made a decision. I wanted to see what these corporate events she always excluded me from really looked like. See her in her natural habitat, so to speak. I did some digging and found the restaurant online, a place where steaks are dry-aged for 60 days, and you have to book a month in advance. I called, pretending I wanted to confirm the details of the corporate reservation. I got the time, the name of the private room, everything. Too easy. That evening, Madison left at 6 in the evening, all dolled up, kissing me before she left. Do not wait up, it will probably end late, and there will definitely be drinks afterward. I waited an hour, took a long shower, trimmed my beard to perfection, put on my best suit, the one I wear to sign big contracts, my grandfather's vintage watch. Then I drove downtown, parked a block away from the restaurant, a place where the steaks cost more than my first truck's monthly payment. I walked in calmly, confident, shoulders back, steady eye contact with the hostess, firm handshake. I told her I was joining the corporate group, but was running late. She led me straight to them without asking a single question. Clearly, I know how to present myself when I want to. I did not make a scene. I sat at the bar overlooking the private room, ordered a club soda with lime, and watched. Madison was in her element. She was laughing, touching people's arms when they spoke. That social butterfly side of hers. I counted about 20 people, all well-dressed, looking important. Her boss was an older silver-haired man who paraded her around like a trophy. What struck me the most was how different she was. At home, she was always tired, often complaining about work, her colleagues, the pressure. Here, she was full of energy, eyes sparkling. She was gesturing while telling a story that had the whole table laughing. After about an hour, a younger guy in a navy suit came to the bar to order drinks. He saw me looking at the room. "Are you with the corporate group?" he asked, rather friendly. "More or less," I replied. "My girlfriend is in there." "Madison." His eyebrows shot up. "Madison? The marketing magician? You are dating Madison?" I nodded, taking a sip of my soda. "For 3 years. That is crazy." He paused. "Well, congratulations on her promotion." "Thanks." I paused. "Can I ask how she is at work?" "She does not talk about it much." After a few drinks, the guy in the blue suit got chatty. He told me Madison was a shark in heels. Ambitious, driven, always maneuvering to climb, but respected. Truly respected. "It is practically thanks to her we landed the Westfield account," he said. 80-hour weeks. She outsmarted the competitors with her strategy. The boss loves her. Does she hang out much with the team? Make friends at the office? I asked, trying to sound casual. He shrugged. She picks who she spends her time with. She does not really do after-work drinks. Unless senior executives are there. Then he smiled. "Well, there was last year's Christmas party. Man, your girlfriend can dance." The Christmas party. The one she told me had been canceled due to budget cuts. "You should come meet everyone," he added. "They would love to meet Madison's boyfriend. She is always so secretive about her personal life." Before I could even answer, he was already dragging me over. We walked into the private room, and every head turned. Madison was laughing mid-conversation with a woman when she saw me. Her smile dropped like it was carved in stone. "Connor," she said, my name sounding foreign in her mouth. The guy in the blue suit, Brian, as I later learned, patted me on the shoulder. "Found your boyfriend at the bar. Incredible you hid him for 3 years." The awkward silence lasted barely 2 seconds before Madison pulled herself together, slapping that public relations smile back on. "Oh no, there is a misunderstanding." She laughed a tight, forced laugh. I stood impassive, waiting. A part of me still hoped she would say, "This is my partner, Connor," or something like that. Just a bare minimum of dignity. "He is just my driver for tonight. My car is in the shop." I literally froze. Driver, not boyfriend, not partner. The ironic thing is that the cufflinks I was wearing that night, a Christmas gift she had given me earlier, were engraved to my rock, and here I was, reduced to the guy who drove her around. No, at that exact moment, something snapped inside me. Something I did not even realize I was still holding on to. Brian looked confused. "Connor loves to joke around." He tried. She cut him off. "Right, Connor?" While I was processing all this, still outwardly calm, she leaned in toward me. That fake smile still glued to her face, and whispered just loud enough for me to hear, "You should be grateful I let you in." That was it. Right then and there, it was no longer just disrespect. It was her clearly telling me to my face that I was beneath her. After everything I had given, paid for, supported, this was what it amounted to. Everyone was watching now. The silver-haired boss, the woman she was laughing with, strangers in overpriced clothes staring at me like I was some weirdo who had crashed their party. I had 2 options: blow everything up, or leave like a man who does not beg for respect. I chose the latter. I looked her dead in the eyes and said with absolute calmness, "The truck is waiting out front when you are done." She blinked as if I had just ripped the script out of her hands. "Have a good evening." I walked out with my head held high. I finished my soda at the bar, left a tip that probably exceeded half the rooms, and left without a single regret. On the road, I called my buddy Chris. "Man, can I crash at your place tonight? Everything okay?" "Not really. I will explain when I get there." I stopped by my place, packed a bag with the essentials, left Madison's key on the counter with a note, "Find another way home," and wrote, "We need to talk, but not tonight." Then I went to Chris's, slept on his couch, and told him everything. Good guy that he is. He just listened without judging and offered me the guest room for as long as I needed. The first thing I did after putting my bag down was cancel all the cards Madison had access to. Shared subscriptions, deleted. Car insurance I was paying, stopped. Music streaming family plan, back to solo. I was not just leaving. I was cutting every string that connected us. Madison blew up my phone that night. Call after call, voicemail after voicemail, increasingly desperate. I still read a few texts. Where are you? Call me. Are you really this upset over a joke? I am sorry. Okay, please talk to me. I did not reply to any of them. I turned off my phone and slept properly for the first time in months. I woke up with the sun and the smell of coffee. Chris's wife, Melissa, had made breakfast. She did not ask any questions. She just squeezed my shoulder and said, "Eat. Everything is better on a full stomach." After breakfast, I turned my phone back on. Missed calls from Madison. 3 unknown numbers, probably her friends. I sent her a text. I am fine. I am at Chris's. We will talk tomorrow. Do not come here. Then I spent the day helping Chris with his project car. A 1967 Mustang he has been restoring for 3 years. Mechanical work, simple, repetitive, exactly what I needed. Madison came anyway. Chris opened the door. Is Connor here? I heard her public relations voice at full volume. I was so worried. He does not want to see you right now, Chris said firmly. I just want to explain. He said tomorrow, Chris repeated before closing the door. I heard her yelling outside for a few minutes, then tires screeching as she drove off. The next day, I went home around noon, knowing she would be at work. I packed more clothes, my computer, important documents. I left her another note with a time and place to meet. A coffee shop near our place. Public space, neutral ground. She was already there when I arrived. Impeccable makeup despite red eyes. She stood up when she saw me, tried to hug me. I stepped back. Connor, thank God. I was going crazy with worry. I sat down. Let us skip the nonsense, Madison. 3 years, and I am just your driver. It was a stupid joke. I panicked. Brian caught me off guard. You did not panic. You were ashamed of me. And it has been going on for a long time. That is not true, she protested, but her eyes said otherwise. The Christmas party, I said coldly. The one you said was canceled. The charity gala in March. The one you said was for employees only, when Brian mentioned going with his girlfriend. The company picnic where spouses were explicitly invited and you forgot to tell me. She looked cornered. Those events are not as fun as they sound. Cut the act, I interrupted. I heard the call. The last thing I need is him talking about trucking routes while I am trying to impress the chief financial officer. Ring a bell. Her face fell. I was stressed. I did not mean it. You meant it, I said calmly. And here is the thing. It is not even the fact that you are ashamed of me. That is your insecurity, not mine. She opened her mouth, looking for something sweet to say. You know I care about you. We live together. Yeah, I replied, leaning back. Then name one single thing about me that is not superficial. She froze. Blinked. Nothing. Exactly, I said. 3 years, and you never really saw me. You only saw what I could provide for you. She tried again, her voice shaking. It is not fair. I have been under pressure. We all are, I answered coldly. The difference is I never put you down to make myself feel superior, and I left it at that. You do not understand the pressure I am under, she said, her voice wavering. Those people are not like you. They judge everything. Who you date, the schools you went to, what your parents do, and I do not measure up. That is not what you are saying, I replied. But her face said otherwise. Look, in this circle, appearances matter. You do not have a degree, you run trucks. I own a logistics company, I corrected, still calm. I employ 15 people. I make more money than half the guys in suits you hang out with. She sighed as if I was completely missing the point. It is not about money, Connor, it is about fitting in. You cannot understand what it is like to date someone without a degree in a room full of people with advanced degrees. They would never take me seriously. I had had enough. She still did not get it. Even when I clearly pointed out the problem, she continued to disrespect me. 3 years of my life spent with someone who was ashamed of me, who saw me as something to hide, who took my money, my time, my love, but thought I should be grateful to be in her orbit. I think we are done, I said, standing up. What? Connor? No. Please, we can work this out. I will do better. I will take you to work events, I promise. Too late, I replied. I will come by tomorrow with Chris to get the rest of my stuff. You can keep the apartment until the lease ends in 2 months. I will pay my half of the rent. After that, you are on your own. Where are you going to go? She asked, her voice very small. That is no longer my problem. As I walked away, she yelled after me. You are making a mistake. 3 years. Connor, are you really going to throw away 3 years over one stupid comment? I turned around. No, I am walking away from being the guy who funded your lifestyle, but was not worth acknowledging in public. That is what I am walking away from. I left her crying in the coffee shop. I blocked her number before I even got to my truck. A week later, I moved into a small apartment Chris's cousin was renting out. Nothing fancy, but clean and affordable. I buried myself in work. I went to the gym more often. I reconnected with friends I had neglected during my relationship with Madison. One afternoon, I was eating lunch in a small deli near my office when someone tapped me on the shoulder. I turned around and saw Emily standing there with a hesitant smile. Hey Connor, she said, shifting her weight slightly. I heard what happened. I wanted to see if you were okay. Getting there, I replied, surprised to see her. Want to join me? Over lunch, Emily told me that Madison had painted me as the jealous boyfriend who could not handle her success. But she had known Madison since childhood and told me this was not the first time she had twisted the truth to her advantage. She thought I deserved better than being reduced to the role of driver after a 3-year relationship. When I asked her if Madison had always been like this, Emily replied that status had always mattered to her. Even in high school, she had dropped a friend because the friend's dad lost his job. I asked her why she stayed friends with someone like that. She shrugged, saying it was history. Madison could be incredibly charming when it suited her. And for someone like Emily who made friends slowly, that charm had kept her around longer than it should have. We talked for almost 2 hours. It turned out Emily had also been on the receiving end of Madison's superiority complex. Little jabs about her modest teacher's salary. Remarks about how she could be prettier if she put in more effort. How she used Emily as a backup plan, then dropped her when something better came along. Do you remember Madison's birthday last year? That weekend at the beach house? Emily asked. I nodded. I had paid for the rental. 3 bedrooms for Madison, me, and 4 of her friends. She made me sleep on the couch, Emily said softly. She said the bedrooms were for couples only, so I had to share with her single friend Stephanie. Then Stephanie brought a guy back and took the room. Why did you put up with that? I asked. Emily shrugged. Probably for the same reason you did. When you care about someone, you make excuses for them. Before leaving, Emily handed me a book, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. This helped me through a tough time, she explained. I figured it might help you too. That conversation with Emily was the first time since the restaurant incident that I felt truly seen. Not as Madison's boyfriend or the guy with a logistics company, but as a person with real emotions and a real story. Over the following weeks, Emily and I started texting from time to time. Nothing flirty, just checking in. How is the new apartment? Did you finish the book? My students talked about trucks today. I told them about your company. Meanwhile, Madison alternated between anger and bargaining. She created new email addresses to bypass my blocks, sometimes to insult me, calling me a jerk for humiliating her, and then in the next message declaring her undying love. When that got nowhere, she started sending mutual friends to plead her case. She is a wreck, man, my buddy Jason reported after running into her crying at a bar, saying she had made the biggest mistake of her life. I stood firm. I got the rest of my things from the old apartment with Chris's help, left my key on the counter, and closed that chapter. About a month after the breakup, Emily texted me on a Friday. I am having a little get-together tomorrow. Board games and pizza at my place, nothing crazy. Do you want to come? I accepted, figuring it would do me good to be around people not tied to the drama with Madison. When I arrived at Emily's cozy apartment, I was surprised to see only 4 other people. 2 couples, all teachers at her school. No big crowd to blend into. But it was nice, relaxed. We played Catan, laughed at absurd school stories, and ate way too much pizza. Nobody asked me what degree I had or made out-of-touch remarks about my job. When I brought up a challenge with a new route my drivers were handling, they asked genuine questions. Around midnight, the others left, and I stayed to help clean up. I thanked Emily for the invite, telling her I did not realize how much I needed it. She smiled and said she was happy to see me laugh again. Even though I still felt empty and cold inside, as if nothing could really reach me anymore. Something in the way she said it made me stop. Look at her. Really look at her. Not as Emily, Madison's friend, but as her own person. She was wearing jeans and a simple sweater that matched her eyes, her hair tied in a messy bun. Nothing fancy, but she was beautiful. What? She asked, noticing my stare. Nothing, I said, shaking my head. Just realizing some things. Like what? Like the fact that sometimes what you need is right in front of you, but you are too distracted to see it. She blushed slightly. Connor. Sorry, I corrected immediately. That was too much. I should go. She grabbed my arm as I turned. It was not too much. It is just complicated. You just got out of a relationship with my friend. Ex-friend, I corrected. Still, I do not want to be your rebound. I nodded. Just friends. Then friends, she agreed with a smile. But walking home that night, I could not stop thinking about her smile, her laugh, the way she truly listened when people spoke. 2 days later, Emily mentioned her car was acting up. So I spent Sunday afternoon changing her brake pads in the parking lot. When I finished, we sat on the curb with cold drinks, talking. She asked why I had stayed so long with Madison, and I admitted it was easier to keep going than to face what was wrong. She told me I deserved someone who was proud to be with me. Something shifted in that moment, but we did not say it out loud. After that, we started spending more time together, just as friends, even though we both felt that unspoken tension growing. About 2 months after the breakup, I was working late when my receptionist gave me a heads up. Madison was there, saying it was urgent. I had not seen her since the coffee shop. She walked in looking different. Still designer clothes, but shorter hair, more subdued makeup, and an awkward posture in the doorway. Nice office, she said, looking around. The maps on the wall, the professional awards on my shelves. I have never been here. What do you want, Madison? I asked without standing up. She took a deep breath. I talked to my therapist about what happened, about how I treated you. She helped me see some things. You are in therapy? I could not hide my surprise. I started a few weeks ago. After everything. She sat down across from me. I have thought a lot about why I was ashamed to introduce you to my coworkers, why I lied about all those events. My whole life, I was taught that success looked like a certain kind of man. My mother always said I had to find a doctor, a lawyer, someone with degrees she could brag about to her friends. When I brought home a guy who worked at a record store in college, she told me I was settling. I listened to her, my face neutral. When I met you, I was drawn to your confidence, your ambition. You were so different from the corporate guys I usually dated. But I could never really shake those ideas that you were not the right kind of successful. She looked away. I know how awful that sounds. It does, I replied. Then she launched into a whole speech about how she compartmentalized her life, as if separating me from her professional ambitions made it all acceptable. She said she missed me, that she was miserable without me, that she wanted a second chance. Classic. She promised she would finally introduce me as her boyfriend, that she would brag about the company I had built. All this speech of too little, too late. I looked at her, this same woman who had introduced me as her driver. Okay, I believe you are sorry, I said, leaning back. And good luck with therapy. But no, we are done. Some things cannot be fixed. Her face tightened. Is it because of Emily? I tilted my head. Why do you suddenly care? I saw the two of you at the park at the mall. Your truck was at her place late. I shrugged. So what? She blinked. You did not even wait a month before moving on with my friend. I stood up, still calm. Madison, what I do now is none of your business. You made that very clear the day you introduced me as your driver in front of your entire executive team. Funny how a guy who talks about trucking routes suddenly matters so much to you. She lashed out. Emily is jealous. She is using you to get back at me. I laughed. If anyone has a reason to get back at you, it is Emily for making her sleep on a couch during a trip I paid for. But she is not like you. She actually sees me. She listens to me. She respects me. You had 3 years, and you did none of those things. She stood up, shaking. This is not over. It has been over for a long time, I replied, walking toward the door. You just did not notice because everything has always been about you. She walked out, slamming the door so hard one of my plaques fell off the wall. I did not even flinch. I just picked up my phone and called Emily. Madison just showed up at my office. Apparently, I am not allowed to move on with her friend. Are you okay? Emily asked. She is going a bit off the rails. Mind if I come over? Dinner is already cooking, she replied. And by the way, I have always been proud of you. That right there. That is the whole difference. A month after Madison barging into my office, I signed a major contract with a national shipping company. The biggest contract of my career. It doubled the size of my business overnight, the kind of life-changing deal. I had been working on it for years, refining the perfect pitch, proving our reliability with smaller contracts, building solid relationships. When the chief executive officer shook my hand and said, "We look forward to a long-term partnership, Connor," I felt something I had not felt in a long time. A pure, simple pride. Nobody to impress. Nothing to prove, just the satisfaction of what I had built. Emily was the first person I called after closing the biggest contract of my career. That evening, she cooked a steak, lit candles, put on music. So thoughtful. Over dessert, she confessed she had had feelings for me for a long time, even back when I was still with Madison, but had never tried anything. She said she did not want to be just the friend who helps you through a breakup. I leaned in and kissed her. No pressure, just something genuine. She asked me a few questions about Madison, more out of curiosity than concern. I told her I absolutely did not care anymore. She nodded, told me they had not spoken since the breakup, and that Madison's last message did not even deserve a reply. End of story. Emily stayed over that night, and most nights after that. 2 days after our first night together, my phone rang with an unknown number. I almost did not answer, thinking it was Madison again with a new number, but something pushed me to pick up. Connor? Kenneth here. We met briefly at the steakhouse a few months ago. I was hoping we could meet to discuss a business opportunity. Kenneth, Madison's silver-haired boss, the one from the dinner. Seriously, I wanted to figure out what he was up to. So we met for lunch at a steakhouse near his office. He got straight to the point. Our current logistics partner is constantly late, losing packages, and frankly becoming a problem. I remembered you mentioned owning a shipping company. I took a closer look at your business after that evening and was impressed by your track record. How did you know it was my company? I asked. He smiled slightly. He explained that after that, let's say, interesting dinner, he had been curious. He had looked into it and discovered that I was not just a driver, but the guy running the whole operation. The customer reviews and results spoke for themselves. We spent an hour talking shop and laying the groundwork for a potential deal. As we were leaving, Kenneth mentioned that Madison no longer worked at the company. He said her behavior that night had raised doubts about her judgment. I stayed neutral, telling him I wished her no harm, but that I was not exactly heartbroken. He nodded and confided that he had always felt she underestimated me. It was obvious, even in just a few minutes, that she did not see my worth. We shook hands. I walked away with a potential client and that strange satisfaction of seeing that sometimes the universe dishes out its own justice. Last I heard, Madison moved to another city for a fresh start. She tried to call me a few times before leaving, but I never picked up. I received a long email where she apologized, said she had made a huge mistake, that she had always loved me. I did not reply. Some bridges stay burned. She found out about Emily and me through social media. Emily had posted a picture of us hiking. Nothing provocative, just two happy people on a mountain. Madison sent one last message. I guess everything worked out well for both of you. I hope you are very proud of yourselves. I blocked that number too. Emily and I have been together for 8 months now. She officially moves in next week, even though most of her stuff is already at my place. Her second-grade students drew trucks for her to bring to my office. They are framed on my wall, right next to my business license, and they mean more to me than any prestigious degree. My business is growing. I hired 5 new drivers, added 3 trucks to the fleet, and I am thinking about opening a second hub in the neighboring state. Emily has been incredible every step of the way. She celebrates the wins, helps me brainstorm challenges, and reminds me to slow down when I work too much. Sometimes, I think back to that moment at the restaurant when Madison called me her driver. As humiliating as it was also the wake-up call I needed. It forced me to see what had been happening for years. I was with someone who was not only a bad match for me, but who was ashamed of me. If she had not been so clear that night, how many more years would I have wasted? How much more money would I have poured into those endless demands? How many times would I have swallowed my pride at those jabs about my career or my education level? Sometimes life punches you right in the teeth to wake you up. A lot of guys reading this probably know what I am talking about. That gut feeling that something is wrong without being able to put a word to it. Those little remarks that make you feel inadequate. That constant need to prove your worth. If that is what you are going through, leave. Life is too short to be with someone who makes you feel small. Sometimes the best revenge is not a complicated plan. It is simply living well and finding someone who is proud to walk by your side. Someone who introduces you as her boyfriend, not as her driver. Comment: I really hope this story stays with you long after it ends. I want you to remember that your self-respect is non-negotiable, and you should never settle for less. Setting firm boundaries is an act of self-love, not selfishness. You deserve to be with someone who is proud to have you by their side and never makes you feel like you need to hide. True healing starts the moment you choose peace over pain and surround yourself with genuine kindness. Take responsibility for the energy you allow into your life, because you are worth protecting. I encourage you to reflect on what kind of love and respect you truly want moving forward. Choosing calm and supportive relationships is one of the wisest decisions you will ever make. You have the power to build a life where you feel valued every single day. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.